Welcome everyone to our podcast. So I'm here with my friend Justin Udy from the Justin Udy team in Century 21 Everest. He's been here before. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So the last time we had you, you had just won the Large Sales Team Award for the Salt Lake Board of Realtors.
Yes.
And we talked a little bit about that award and your experience over the year 2016 and what got you there. And we kind of want to revisit that because team building is getting even bigger than when we talked.
Totally. And it's been really interesting how the change is occurring and how many people are starting to be more attracted to it.
Right. Even from our pre-licensing school here, we see agents that immediately have this spark of an interest to go to a team. It's all about, the team, the resources, the help, kind of that I'm new, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I need some help. And they kind of, I think, instinctively know that the broker is spread thin. So the broker help, the hands-on help is not going to be there like they would hope. So the team really does become an attractive option.
No, for sure.
So are you seeing the influx of an interest on your team or in your brokerage? Are there other teams popping up?
So I think I am seeing the amount of people that are more attracted to a team. I think you're right in regards to the broker. I think one of the biggest challenges with a broker is, frankly, a lot of brokers are actually not in the real estate game. So they're not familiar with the values, familiar with the players, familiar with, they understand real estate and the law section at a very high level, but maybe they're not actually doing transactions. And so the world of online lead generation or dealing with social media and the importance of it, maybe they're just a hair detached from it compared to maybe the individual agent that's doing high production at a high level. So I think that's important. So what I am also finding is that as people do look at the teams, not only, there's kind of the two worlds, right? One is, are they attracted to it just because it's a lead generating machine? And two, how difficult is it to recreate that because of the cost, the time, the effort? Sometimes people are going in new, and I hate to say it, like, how many people are going to hire maybe an amateur versus hiring a pro, and they can kind of hang their name behind, before it was maybe hanging your name behind a big brokerage. Now it's maybe hanging it behind a big team.
It's really a microcosm of employment by itself, right? Like I can start my own business or I can go get employed.
Right.
Have
That's exactly
the stability and the help already, as long as I trust my employer.
Yeah.
Or I can start my own business and go through all of the hard knocks and learn it the hard way and all of that. And of course, there's personalities for each, but very much like that.
And there's even hybrids that people are testing out where people say, hey, I don't want to be 100% commission, and they're going in at paid salary jobs as an agent. And so it's interesting. So those that want to do commissions can earn more money. Those that say, I love real estate, but I want to do kind of more 9 to 5. We're seeing those opportunities for people that maybe want to treat it different than 100% commission, more self-employed 1099 job. They're looking for something that's W-2'd.
Sure. Okay. So as we talk about that in a minute, let's go through a little bit of your background. What got you from, pounding the pavement as a single real estate agent to, having a large sales team under your control, and then not only a large team, but an award-winning large team. So take us through your story.
So I will tell you this. So again, when I had done 1 year, I had done 48 transactions that year. And I realized at the end of that year, I hadn't been around my family as much as I should. I wasn't the best husband. I wasn't the best father. I was literally getting up before the kids were up, coming home after they had eaten or even they've gone to bed. And on the weekends, all I was doing was working. I was 24/7, nights, weekends, holidays. I just didn't have a break. Now, it came to a point where I said, I need to do something different. I love real estate, but am I going to continue to build this business, or am I going to do something else? Because this thing is consuming my life. At that point when I decided, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to double down and I really need to get some assistance. And that's when I started really, if I went through the journey of what did I do different, I started investing in people. I started implementing systems. So everything was systematized. Started actually doing some additional marketing in addition to what my own kind of brunt force was, where I was completely 100% prospecting based, referral based. Always, it was typically 50-50. Whatever I prospected was 50% of my business and 50% was return clients. That's kind of how it worked in the beginning. And then lead generation.
So you invested in people. What do you mean by that?
So when I say that is that, for example, one of the first people that I had essentially hired is I had written down a list of the top 100 things I needed to change in my business. And rather than hiring maybe a standard assistant, I hired somebody that we refer to as somebody that's maybe an implementer or an integrator or a higher level manager that was going to be able to push the business forward, where I could be the vision and they could implement. Because I still needed to pay the bills, bring in business, I had to keep our clients happy. I had to do all the normal things, but I had these things that need to be implemented. And by doing that, what I found is by simply implementing, maybe one item a week, every single week, by the end of a year, we had 52 either new systems, new processes, new documents, new things that made it more like a true business as opposed to a self-employed stack of papers on the side of your desk.
Sure. So my belief, and I've always said, the number one resource that you have above all is not money, it's time. That is your most valuable resource.
Absolutely.
Number two is people. And it sounds like from your story, you're coming to this point in your life and your career, your family life, that you started to realize the value of those two components, especially time. Is that right?
Absolutely. And that was, again, we talk about what is your highest and best use. Like, what is it that makes you who you are, that you do the best? And I love real estate and I love the business. And so I was like, I need to spend my time doing that one thing. And that was growing the business.
Okay.
And so that's what I did. And all the other things, I kind of put to the side. I think I talk about breaking your schedule in at a time dollar per hour, right? So if an agent that's listening is saying, well, look, this year I want to make $100,000, right? I'm sure you've heard that 100 times, right? Where people come in, that's what I want to do, right? And it's like, that's fantastic. So why don't we take out, if I'm taking out the exact time of the hours of a year, and they want to make $100,000, right, in a year, and I divide that by the amount of time I'm taking that amount of time per dollars per hour, then, I'm taking 8 hours a day, and I have my calculator out right now because I need to take the exact number, right?
Right.
If I'm doing 8 hours a day times 365 days a year, that's 2920, right? 2,920 hours. And that's 8 hours a day, but if I'm doing $100,000 divided by that 2920, I know that I cannot do anything that's not paying me at least $35 an hour.
Okay.
So anything that can get done for $35 an hour or less, I can't touch.
And so you're mentally monetizing all of your tasks, all of your duties, to make sure that it's worth that hour.
My job now is to lead, manage, keep people accountable, and work on big deals. That is my job. Those are the 4 hats I wear as opposed to doing everything. Right? Okay. Which is, all the pieces of a business, all of the marketing, all of the sales, all of the finance, all of those things. So the way that we are set up now is I have a full-time operations person, I have a full-time sales manager, I have a full-time marketing person, and then I have obviously a sales team that assists me with obviously all of our business. And that includes single family, new construction, multifamily, and commercial.
Okay. So it raises the question, because there's agents out there who will be listening to this, and they are going to be struggling with the idea that I'm closing these deals, I'm bringing this money in. I need this money to live and survive and also work my own business. But my time is stretched too. I'm just too thin. I got to assess whether it's worth bringing in help and divesting myself of some of my income, but I'm not sure I want to get rid of some of my income, right? Yep. So there's this tension of when did you find that it was worth actually parting with some money in exchange for the time back?
So I will say the unfortunate event in any business is when you are holding all of the money and it's like, man, if I'm making, let's do that $100,000 and I'm spread super thin because I'm doing enough business and transactions that I'm starting to run out of time. But the thought of paying somebody $35,000 a year is taking a third of my income.
It's a painful thought.
It feels like taking it, right?
Right.
The issue is the way that it happened for me is I was so busy. I was with an agent in my office. He said, hey, come to my office, let's talk. And literally it was phone call after phone call after phone call, me picking it up. Oh, hold on one second. Pick up another phone call. Then we'd start a conversation. Oh, hold on. Pick up a conversation. While I was on like the third call, he just said, hey, he mouthed to me, hand me your credit card. And so I gave him my credit card while I'm on the phone, and he placed an ad for an assistant for me. And it was because I had no time. Now, that was my first assistant, and I'll tell you my business doubled the next year because now I had double the time, right, to focus on what made the business grow. Now, that's obviously an extreme circumstance.
That's a great story, actually.
I am the
I
worst side of it. I'm the worst, like just like every person's like, I can do it myself. Like, I don't need anybody. And what I found was I couldn't believe how many things I was doing that just were non-productive. You know, everything from, you know, the delivering key boxes, putting signs in the ground, doing the things where it didn't make sense when you have a wealth of knowledge or experience that you can truly help people at a higher level, right? You know, your dentist cleans your teeth. He isn't checking you in. He isn't taking the notes of what you need. He isn't doing the little things. He's doing what he is the expert at, right? So how do you go from amateur or novice to expert advisor? You have to pay the price. That's the other part. You do have to be an expert. You do have to put in the time. That road is not paved in gold. I mean, it is a rough and rocky road. But once you pay the price and you become the expert, then people will rely on you for expertise. And then you do find that you make you know, an impact in the business.
Did you ever sense that there was a ceiling of growth? I mean, when your friend grabbed your credit card, I'm sure that was shocking at the time. Like, what are you doing? I don't need an assistant. There's a part of you that probably felt, I don't need an assistant or I don't want one. But was there also a part of you, did you ever come to a point where you realized my growth was capped just by the time, not necessarily the money? Because I could go work bigger deals, sure. But I will always be capped unless I start investing in people.
Absolutely. I think that, no, I don't think it's something you realize until it's too late, where you have kind of that epiphany moment, like, I can't do anymore. Like you'll start, typically it ends up happening at the end of the year where it's like you're writing your goals like, okay, I want to expand. I want to do this. But then you're realizing like, I can't do another 25 deals because I don't have the time. So for example, now we're staff heavy because I'm looking where we're going to be in a year. Right? So now it's the opposite. Now I'm hiring in advance, whereas typical, me included, in the past it was, okay, now I need somebody, let's hire. And then you hire the wrong person because you need them, as opposed to you need them right now or needed them yesterday, as opposed to filling up your bench with amazing people that you can call and say, hey, I have a position that's going to be opening. I still interview people today that I know are great people for my team and for my business, but I'm not ready for them right now. And so I'll interview them, and sometimes I'll say, hey, there's going to be a position doing this in a few months or 6 months or a year. Would it be okay if I followed up with you then when it's available? And absolutely, they're interested. And because the best people that you can ever find are people that are actually employed, not the people that are actually looking.
Why do you say that?
Because if they're looking, it's because either they're at a difference of a place in their life, or they're not sure what they want to do. Maybe they've been fired. Maybe you don't know the story behind it, right? If they're available on the market, typically it's kind of like going on somebody that broke up, right? It's like you don't know what kind of baggage it is if you're dating somebody that just had a breakup, you know? So I guess my point is that you just don't know. And when you can interview somebody and find people that, I would say, number one, you look within the people that you know, they're usually the best, and you reach out to your own people that can recommend people to you. They're usually the number one person. And so when we reach out and say we have this position open, sometimes people say, why don't you talk to this person? They're working, but this may be an opportunity they're interested in. And so when you speak with them, people want opportunity. And if you can create opportunity for them, then it's different than a lot of real estate teams. And that's the one thing I think that people wanting to start teams don't realize. They think it's like this money maker, and they treat people as chattel as opposed to saying, how can I create opportunity for others? And those are the teams that stick around. Those are the teams that stick together, and they're the ones that do the best.
So really the difference is a matter of reactionary hiring and managing versus the planning ahead, the creating opportunity, or at least looking that opportunity can be creative. So it's a very different mindset is what I'm gathering. One of reacting to the business and the situation, being behind the gun, versus looking ahead and finding the right person for something that's going to be about to pop.
And that's why I say is you really do have to be that person that's the vision of the company and find the person that can integrate the business. Because if you're not growing, like even where our organization is right now, like I find our business is great. I'm super thankful where we are. I look where we were, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and the growth I'm like super grateful for. But I know that if I don't grow and expand and do more, I can't create opportunity for others, right? And so we've even just done little things, where it was like, okay, what would make this company better for people? So we started implementing 401ks, profit sharing, benefits, vacation pay, just things like a normal business would have. And so people start saying, you get a good people, right? Because when people are like, well, I'll pay you $28,000, we have no insurance, and you get to sit in this little cubicle that has no air and no air conditioning and whatever, it's not sexy to anybody, right? People want to work in a place where it's going to be exciting, they're growing, they have opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so when agents want to, let's say they're at the cusp, they're spread thin, and now they're starting to, they hear all the buzz about starting a team. They think that, like you said, there's a money to be made, or at least there's opportunity. What are the steps? I mean, what are the steps that you took? Is it a matter of starting with an assistant? Is it a matter of, kind of corralling agents in the office together? I mean, what would you advise agents start to progress in these steps to make a team?
So I will tell you, and I'm glad you asked that. This year I was part of a group that kind of wrote a book, right? And the book was basically on systems. And it made me think about what were the things that I kind of did. And so I kind of laid it out in there, but it basically says, number one, you have to have a vision. You have to know where you're going, what you're going to do. You have to have a mission of like, why are you doing what you're doing? You have to have values, right? Because what is important to you really does need to be conveyed down the food chain. It needs to be conveyed to the other people that are working with you so that they have a similar or even better experience. And then after you have the core of who you are and the type of people that are going to really impact others at the level that you have, after you have, a vision and mission and values and where you want to be and what you want to impact, then at that point is when I would say you are going to hire that first hire, that person that can integrate the things that need to integrate. Once they're able to start integrating a few of those things and you're starting to see the business grow, you'll find that you have so much business now because you're not doing maybe the smaller items that now you'll find that clients are now taking all of your time. So at that point, you need to decide, okay, am I going to double down and continue to work this way? Because sometimes it's okay to stop at that point where it's like, look, I'm happy with my business.
Sure. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a mega team of 100 people, right? But let's just say, okay, I want a little bit more business. I want to do more things. So sometimes the first time people bring on as a buyer's agent. You could bring on a buyer's agent or somebody that's a buyer specialist that's now taking your buyers. What does it do? It takes a huge portion of your income. So what do you need to focus on? The listings and the sellers. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people could just hire a showing agent, somebody to just help the people go show the homes and they still write the contracts. I met with a lady that was out of state that she closed close to 100 transactions on her own just by hiring a showing agent versus hiring a buyer's agent that she had to manage and so forth. But it is different because sometimes if people go away, that business will come back to you. So after they get too busy on my team, my first buyer's agent closed 27 transactions in his first year. He got too busy. And so I had to get somebody else to help him because of the overflow of leads, the overflow of business. I was working on listings. We were getting more sign calls. And so eventually it starts impacting where you have to start getting people to take time. that time away that like you talked about, where you're maximize the time. The year I sold 85 listings on my own was the same, and my team sold 151. I felt the exact same way as the year when I sold 48 on my own.
Yeah, I bet.
Because I was spread again, too thin. So I said, okay, what's my decision? I need somebody to help me with listings. My listing partner helped me sell 92 deals this year. So that is a big difference, but that's them taking some of that away, right? And so it's interesting, the more and more individuals as they progress, like having where I was handling, but the deal, for example, the year I did 85, I probably could have done over 100 easy had I not been building the team,
right,
doing the marketing,
doing all of the other
handling
things,
the finances, all the other things, interviewing people, bringing people on, because you're wearing still 5, 6, 7 different hats. So I would
be equally spread, just in a different way.
Yep, exactly. I met with a gentleman that's out of state where and again, you're always growing and saying, where can you go? I met with a guy that had 80 agents and 22 employees, and he was a team, right? I mean, there isn't a cap once you have those things: people, systems, marketing, and lead generation. I could only make so many phone calls. Where I was prospecting based, you can only knock so many doors in a day. So that's when you start maybe implementing other things, whether it be a buyer platform where you can get online leads. You start either you generate the leads or you pay for the leads. It's one or the other. Eventually you get to the point where you need to do a hybrid. We still do prospect every single day. I think in any changing market or economy, you have to have that skill set, or people will literally shrivel up and they don't know what it's like. I think the statistic is like over 80% of agents in the market have never seen a downturn. Does that sound familiar to you at all?
I've never heard that.
Supposedly there was some statistic I had read. And so if they are not prospecting based, they need to start to be, because they need to know that skill set, because when the faucet turns off, I will tell you, it is painful. So they need to be frugal, save money, do those things. I mean, the year I was the number 1 agent for Century 21, number 6 in the world, I drove a 10-year-old car, had 250,000 miles, and that's the year it literally blew up on the road.
Right.
So I was still living that, right? And I had to get a new car. So be frugal and invest that money. And again, people say, like, I enjoy properties and I have real estate that I actually own too. But had I not owned my investment properties also, this is an interesting note, I couldn't have started my team. I wouldn't have been comfortable. My investment properties actually paid for my first
Leveraged
assistant.
it for you.
Yep.
Cool. So you talk about accepting the fact that you're going to need to make a financial investment in the people, in the systems, all those things to alleviate the time spread. So now that's going to raise the next question to anybody starting a team, and that is there a line where my time or, my teammates' time is now warranting a new hire? So, I'm busy enough to stay busy for 8 hours a day. My assistant or the other agent that we're a team, they're busy enough to stay 8 hours a day. Now we're starting to get into 9, 10. It's cutting into family time. At what point do I, cut that, hire a new person to take on certain tasks? Because they're going to be worried that if I cut now, does it cut my time in half? And now we're only working 4 hours a day just to accommodate this new hire. So where would you guide somebody on the time? Like, what is the marker that says, okay, now you're spread too thin, you need to bring somebody else?
So that's a really good question. And I think that depends on the person, right? Somebody that's single, that doesn't have a family, it's completely different than somebody that has kids, because they're like, I'm okay working till 7:30, 8 at night because nobody hangs out till 9 or 10 o'clock at night anyway. And so they're okay with that. With me, we typically will have dinner at 6 or 6:30. So me figuring out a way to get home was really important to me. I still work every day, but I'm trying to make sure that on certain days I'm always home. And so that's when it comes down to a balance and what you're wanting to get. I could make a lot more money, dollars in my hand, if I was out doing certain deals. However, my family is more important to me at this point, probably because of the pain I felt from when they were little. So will that change? Eventually it will, right? Probably not for 10 years.
Sure.
But it's a balance, because now, is it time and a valuable lifestyle you're looking for, or is it just money?
Yeah.
And so I think that's important, of what is that number of where you can make the most money, but also still have a balanced life. Some people will say just work, 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 make as much money as you can. That's not in my value system. Other people, hey, I want to goof around and not be completely involved, and they make
Just enough.
just enough to get
Yeah.
by. And guess what? There's teams out there, folks. And again, it's do not, unless you see their numbers and what they're making, take it until you see their spreadsheets. Because I will tell you, there is teams out there that do hundreds and hundreds of transactions, and their margins may be only 5 or 6%. Whereas other businesses, they're making a 50% margin. And you've got to find out it is not what you make. It is
that's
what you
interesting.
net.
That's a good point.
You know, and it is important that you do not, when people say you should do this, you should do that, and you say, okay, I'm going to implement that. You talk to them 6 months later, and you're like, so I've been doing that lead generation system that you were working on. That, oh yeah, we killed that like 4 months ago. It's like, you need to don't go down the path of experimenting with things. As a real estate professional, even on my phone now, I mean, I'll get 3 to 4 phone calls a day with the new gem of like what's going to get you business. If you understand that this business is a people business and you getting in front of people, not paying some, secret sauce, there is no secret sauce other than hard work. And if you know that, then you'll be successful because you know you need to put in the time, the effort, and balance your life. Because if you don't balance your life, then you burn out. And that's what I ended up happening. I literally burned out, and I had to figure out a way to avoid that burnout. And that was, for me, forming a team.
So when you formed your team and you start hiring people, obviously it relieves your time, at least initially as you bring on somebody. Did you find that with this kind of allocation of time and people and resources to a new person, did you stay just as busy, or did it allow you some creativity to find new things to make you busy? I mean, that void of time, getting the new person, what happens with it?
So you do have to be very intentional about what you're doing with your time. Because, so for example, once I stepped out of buyers, I had a lot of time. So I could have taken more time off, but instead I doubled down on getting listings. Once I doubled down on listings, now all of a sudden we're bringing in a ton more business. That brings in more people. Now those people need to buy. Those people bring in phone calls. Sometimes we call it listings have babies, right? Because they need a house, and so they won't want to buy your house, but they want to have you help them buy another one. And so you have to be very intentional about the time that you get. Are you taking that time for yourself? Or are you taking that time to grow your business?
That makes sense. So really, from what I'm hearing from you, if I'm going to build a team and I'm projecting in the future because my time is starting to get really thin, I'm hearing from you that what I want to do is really make some methodical choices, not only about who I'm hiring, but perhaps their duties. And so when I have some free time, I'm now purposefully putting my time into something that's going to create even more of a return.
My suggestion is so number one, everybody does a 1-year goal, typically.
Okay.
A written 1-year goal, you have to live by that. So people on your team and you know what you're doing in that year. Take it out 3 years, take it out 5 years, take it out 10 years. The first time I did a 10-year goal, it was really weird for me because you're thinking like, well, geez, what could I accomplish in 10 years? And it's crazy what you can accomplish in 10 when you look back what you've done in 3. And what happens is when you have a 10-year goal, think of it from if you're a boat in the ocean and you have no paddle, you have no motor, anything, you're just going to get tossed to and fro, just from whatever the tide wants to take you. As opposed to if you know exactly where you're headed, and you see the spot, if you see the landmark out, on the piece of land that you know exactly where you're going, you'll find that you're going in a straight line in that direction. So you stop doing the things that would distract you. What I do find is sometimes team leaders will go into and they'll say, hey, man, I did 100 transactions. I need to start looking into flipping homes. I need to start looking into doing my own mortgage company. I need to start having my own title company. And they start getting derailed. And maybe that's what they want to do. But typically they get derailed. And so the next year I talked to them and I said, okay, well, how many did you do this year? Well, we only did 101. And I spent more money, but it's because I was doing this and doing this. Well, did it produce any money? Not really, but it's just because it was going to cost too much. And so one of the reasons for me in making sure that I'm sticking to it is so that you do not get derailed. It's too easy. The grass always looks greener on the other side. I think that once you stick to a plan and you have it written down, you know where you're going with clarity and laser focus. So every day you go in the office, it's like, it's not about what I'm going to accomplish today. or this year, you know where you're going in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and your intentions are going in that direction. So technically you're actually more productive because you're like, having a full-time marketing person was somebody that I have had written down for 4 years. So until I finally had the income to pay for that, it didn't make sense because I was like, I can do it until I was able to take the margin and figure out, okay, I can pay this person because I know this is a part of what a real business is going to help me. I would not recommend getting a full marketer until you have a massive amount of business because you have to pay for it. You could make 50 grand a year and have a team that does hundreds of deals. You could make $1 million a year and have a team that is smaller, but you're essentially maybe more involved or you have a different setup. So it's not what you make, it's what you net.
I'm sensing that the team, people will lock onto that word and they will treat it very differently than how you treat it. You're treating it very much like a business, that even though it's under the umbrella of C21, this is your business. All the components, all the operations are very business structured, including plans, business models, long-term goals, short-term things, personnel, operations. Whereas a team, typically it's a goal-oriented team, of course, but it's the goal to go out, get listings, close deals. Very different than a business goal or a business plan.
The issue we run into now, which is interesting, is you have people calling themselves a team, which is fine because that's where it's evolving to, but it's them and an assistant. And truly they are a team. But if you are going to go towards the team model, the only suggestion that I would say is be sure that you are providing something of value. You can't expect people to come work and follow you if you don't have a compelling reason. And maybe that compelling reason is that one, you know how to generate business. Maybe it's you have an amazing culture. Maybe at every sale you're doing some sort of a charitable thing that they love. It has to be a compelling reason for people to want to work with you. It can't just be, if people are just coming to work for you for just the leads you provide to them, frankly, you can get that anywhere.
Sure.
And typically those people are only going to be around 18 months to 2 years anyway. But if you really want to build a long-lasting team, it has to be something more than just the leads. People want opportunity, and they want a good culture. And you just have to be the person that they either, I don't want to say be the person they want to be, but be the person that is going to lead them to prosperity, lead them to opportunity. So like things we're looking at is like, okay, within the next 3, 5, 10 years, this year we opened up 2 other areas, right, where we weren't able to reach. Because last year I looked at our numbers and each area we did like 12 to 15 referrals. So it's like, man, found somebody that was willing to open that area. And now all of a sudden they have the opportunity to have their own team under our name in that location. So it created, again, opportunity for them, whereas we were looking at it anyway. But physically, I can't go there, right? And so it allows them. So I just think it's a little different mindset. Frankly, I've heard, I went to one meeting and a guy had, I think like 30 or 40 teams. And his mentality was, you have to have your foot on their throat and, expect accountability. And I'm like, if that's what a team is, I don't want to be a team leader.
Right.
Now there is a section of accountability, but foot on the throat for me is just such a negative connotation. And it was repeated several times that I think that is very derogatory. I think that's treating people not like people. I think you need to genuinely want to help them grow and succeed. And if you're treating anyone with a foot on the throat, I just think that's just wrong. You need to help people be who they can be and believe in them. And guess what? If the expectations aren't there and they're not meeting them, then at that point, maybe it isn't the best fit to be on your team.
So would you say then probably the better balance is you think of the team, the construct as a business, but the actual people, the culture, the interactions, this is very much like a team. Would that be a fair way to really come to grips with the idea of running a team?
Well, and I think if I'm to confirm what you said is, I would say yes. I mean, you do have to have all of those items together in order that you're all essentially rowing in the same direction.
Yeah.
You need to have the similar values, know where you're going, what their goals are, so that people are accomplishing not only what they want to accomplish, but as a team leader. So if I have a team goal that I want us to accomplish, and that person hits their goal, I didn't do my job as a team leader to either get the right people, add the right systems, do the right marketing, have the right lead generation. That's my fault. If they're not reaching their goals, it's because it's my fault for not keeping them more accountable and helping them get there.
Yeah.
So again, my job to lead, manage, keep people accountable, work on big deals.
Talk to us about the agent bringing value. You mentioned that. If you want to be on a team, add value to it. So what does that mean? They go pound the pavement. They bring a book of business with them. What is it that you would say adds value to a team if people are interested in being on one?
So first of all, I think is if you're hungry and you want to work, that's probably the number one. Unfortunately, some people decide to go on a team saying, okay, here I am, feed me the leads. It's similar to just standing in front of a fire that's empty and saying, give me heat.
Right.
First thing is that you should be probably looking for is that, one, you do need to get the support and the training so that you know how to work this business. It's different from going from schooling and understanding real estate to the implementation. So that is the next level of learning. So bring a mind of wanting to still continue to learn, bringing a mind that you want to be hungry and work, because you can achieve a higher level of success than you've seen in the past or at a job. The next part I would say is other than being willing to learn and willing to work hard is to make sure that you are willing to do the things that maybe are hard. You're willing to reach out to the people that reach out and knock the doors, or, on our team, basically, they're not going to get the leads I pay for until I know they know how to talk to people. I need to know that they have the ability. And so we have trainings where they're certified in scripts. They're certified in the buyer presentation. They're certified in the listing presentation, so that I know they know how to talk before they start receiving paid for stuff. Because otherwise, I hate to say it, it's like burning money.
Yeah.
Because, if every lead's costing you anywhere from $12 to $32 a lead, and they're getting the leads, frankly, they don't know how to handle them.
Yeah.
So how do you handle them? By getting them in front of people, getting the marbles out of your mouth, knowing how to connect with people at a different level, knowing you're not selling them, figuring out a way so that you know that you're helping them, and so that you don't come out as commission breath, but you come out as somebody that's a servant. You're the heart of a teacher, and that is the difference, because people feel it, and once you understand that and you're serving people, you start seeing more and more business happen.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right. I think there is a huge expectation on getting on a team that I'm going to get some business, or at least I'm going to get resources. And I think that a lot of agents, they just don't either recognize fully or understand that all of that costs money. And if the team leader or the manager or the broker, whoever it is going to be gracious enough to give that, there's got to be some kind of certainty, some surety in return that that's going to be well handled.
Absolutely. And then one of the things is like, and as an agent going in, there is certain things you should expect, right? Like you have to give in order to get. And that's how it is. We call it feeding the hungry. When somebody does what they're supposed to be doing on a consistent basis, frankly, when somebody walks in the door, that lead is assigned to the person that has the highest, contacts that week, or highest amount of appointments they've made, because they are putting in the effort. But yeah, a team that you look for, they should have a compelling vision of where they're going. They should have something that's amazing about them that you really like, whether it's they have a really good way of working with people that you appreciate, or that they do have a system to create business. And so whatever it is, you can't go into a team expecting give, and then it's like, oh, these leads are not going to work. It's like you are essentially aligning yourself with the people that are going to help you figure out the best way to accomplish your goals. Mm-hmm. And that is through obviously working with them, but frankly, you have to do the work on your own. If you go to a normal job and you just sit there and say, look, give me work and I'll just do the work that it's sitting in front of me, you'll never progress. Mm-hmm, you'll never get to the highest level in that business. But if I love the stories about people that first they were the street sweepers, and then they got into the building, and then they became eventually the CEO. Why? Yeah. They were willing to put in the work.
Yeah, not just work, but keep finding a new way to add value to the employer as well.
Absolutely.
So your position, you've gone from working, all on your own, pounding the pavement, omitting wife and kids, to now having a successful team, and then you're even on upward from here. So the more value that you provide, the more better use of your time, keep learning, like you said, serve people. I mean, it sounds to me you are all about providing the value and the service to people, and it's gotten you to even new heights. So tell us what's going on with you personally. You mentioned contributor for Eamon.
For Inman Real Estate. So now I'm a contributor for Inman. Realtor.com. Some of the stuff I've written has been quoted in Forbes, Money, Huffington Post, which was really cool for me.
Yeah.
It's stuff that I read, you know. There's a book coming out. It's called Winning Secrets, 9 Secrets of Success from Pros. And so that comes out in February. And so for me now, it's interesting because now I have the ability to a little bit like when you're so busy working, sometimes you're not thinking about, you're just doing what you're doing. And so once you start implementing, my chapter that I specifically talk about is systems. But once you start systematizing the way that you do things, you can truly start duplicating the process in order that the experience is the same or even better. And that isn't to take away from your clients or just you're like, I want to step out of the business and go on vacation. It's, I want to step to the side to create something better. So, the time that I have now is like, I'm still going to conferences. I'm flying and meeting with different people that have bigger businesses, the new technologies, just the things as things evolve. I think our world of real estate is going to be significantly different in 5 years compared to where it is now. Just like this podcast, 5 years ago,
not even on radar.
Not even on the radar. Right. And so, as we do things like this, we've leaning into the social media, leaning into like the podcast, leaning into the or online videos for our clients, reaching out and sending videos to our clients in response to their emails or calls versus just shooting out a canned email. Little things are changing. And so I would just say, with time, it does create different opportunities. But I've been, doing some of these other things have been really fun for me, but it's just because it's just a whole nother world, the kind of writing articles and the book world. And I spoke to like 2,200 agents at a Century 21 conference, which was really cool for me. And it wasn't so much like, I don't know, it was an interesting thing because it was like, man, like all of a sudden you sometimes feel like you're not even good enough. I think that's all the time. You're like, why would I speak to these people? Like, I don't know anything. And then you realize like, oh my gosh, like, some of the problems or challenges they're having, I experienced 9 years ago or 10 years ago. And if I just told them these 2 or 3 little things, like they don't have to feel the pain again. And so that's been really rewarding and helpful. And I think me kind of being able to compartmentalize that world has helped me be a better team leader because I think it makes you think a little different.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it certainly gives you a broader scope on things as you get more opportunities. But yeah, absolutely. And it's all about giving back in the sense of providing value. Like you said, you can speak to a room of people and they're all different skill, experience levels, and they're just there. They're hoping for something. They're hoping for something that will help them. And I think it's great for you. Congratulations that
thanks,
you can
man.
still provide value, but now at a bigger scale than just our local market here.
Right.
That's great.
It's funny because, even like this, it's like I'm talking to you, but it's like, is 2 people going to hear this or 2,000? Right. You don't know. And so it's just interesting how our world is. But I think it's a good thing to think of it the following way. I love real estate. It's if you can treat it like a business and be the best person, you can run your market. Not in a negative sense, meaning you're running it, but you can dominate your market, frankly, because you are doing the things that most people won't do.
Yeah.
You're trying to provide a higher level of service. You're trying to provide a number, step by step of value, whether it be marketing or additional services to your clients so it's better experience. And I think when you do that in our profession, when you do those things, you can rise quickly. And so for me, it's important to me to continue to know what's the best practices because I think we're always learning.
Right. Yep. And people will always be looking for someone that has learned more than them.
And that's, again, back to why people gravitate towards a team because essentially that person maybe provides the knowledge, the experience, the pathway to success to help that person get where they want to go.
Right. Cool. Well, there you have it, folks. So your book that you're a part of will be out February.
Yep.
And so if anybody wants to grab it, where do they go? Where is this going to be available? Do you know?
I think that I think they can probably grab it on Amazon if they just type it in. Winning Real Estate, and my name, Justin Udy.
Okay.
I think it'll be there. I think on our podcast we might mention where it's going to go, because I think that we'll have it on there.
I'm sure we'll have you back. I'd like to talk to you about it when it comes out again.
Yeah,
if you wanna come back.
so kind of fun.
Okay, we'll make sure that people know where it's
Yeah.
where they can get it when it's released.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Congrats on all your success.
Yeah,
that's
thanks,
awesome.
man.
So 2017 is now over. How did the year, just real quick, how did the year end up for you guys as it was compared to 2016 when you won the award?
So the interesting thing is I needed to step a little bit more. I needed to step a little more to the side. What I found is I had done 45 transactions, I believe, when you and I spoke. This year I did A to Z 12, and we did 207. So now the way that we are set up, we're set to do over 300 this year. But that, again, I just knew I needed to step a little bit farther out. I'm still involved with the daily interactions with, I don't want to say with every single deal, but we sit down on every single deal in the details, best practices, what I'd recommend. But it's typically the 3 big challenges with it, as opposed to the 30 you run into on a typical deal.
Right.
And so I'm still involved, but now as I've stepped to the side, it's created more time. I'm leveraging my time again to create something different. And then we do want to be in 4 different markets within the next 3 years.
Oh, very cool.
So, and it'll just be local. We expanded quicker than we thought because we had people that wanted to do it. And so again, creating opportunity for others. So year ended up great. It was very profitable. I think we're in an amazing business. But we are sticking to like those honed skills that, whether it's a good market or a bad market, to succeed at. And I think that's important, as things will continue to change and thrive, but things do change, and they will.
Yeah, because it's about systems. From
Yes.
the man himself who wrote the chapter on systems,
Yeah,
right?
the chapter, right?
Right.
One day the book, hopefully, but not on systems. I mean, the funny thing is I think in sticky notes. I had to force myself to think in systems to even create a team. So anyone can do it. That's a good thing. Anyone can do it, because I am the worst at that. So.
Well, that's good. All right. Well, thanks for coming.
Thanks, man. I
appreciate you
appreciate it.
coming back, and we'll have you again when the book comes out.
That'll be awesome.
All right. So we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us.